Hello everybody. This is going to be a quick series where we're going to introduce the Eclipse IDE. The reason we're introducing this is, one, it's a great piece of software. Tons of capabilities. It's being expanded all the time. It's got a large community behind it. It's an open source application. The list goes on. The other reason is that we are going to start using this more and more in many, if not all, of our series. We've been using Dreamweaver up until now, but in our dynamic series in particular, and as we start working on these dynamic development projects, we're going to need to start using a different environment than Dreamweaver. I personally like Dreamweaver. I've used it for a long time, and I still use it for certain projects. However, Eclipse is just better suited for these bigger scale jobs. It's got better support for version control, and there's plug-in tools for PHP in general. In fact, a specific build just for PHP, or geared for PHP, as well as a build that's geared towards web development in general, because Eclipse is actually more of a software environment. Mainly, I think it was originally meant to be used for Java development. So if you were to get into building native Android apps, you would definitely be getting familiar with Eclipse. But I'm going to walk you through the installation process. Normally, if I were to have you get a piece of software, I would just say, download it and install it, because that's usually pretty self-explanatory. However, Eclipse has so many different versions out there that it can be a little confusing. And let's start by, I've got the Eclipse website open here, and if you just simply go to downloads, right here you already see all these different versions, none of which are the ones we're going to use. And this is the current release, Juno 4.2, which we are not going to be using that because there isn't a PHP version for that yet. So we're going to be using, I believe, version 3 point something. It's the Indigo version instead of Juno, which is perfectly fine. But so I wanted to show you that we're not actually going to be using this site to download it. However, if you have questions or anything like that about Eclipse, or you want to look at other plugins or other versions of Eclipse, this is where you'd want to go. The version we're going to get is actually, it's at the Eclipse website, but it's really hard to find, so I'm going to tell you to go to this link up here. Eclipse.org/PDT stands for PHP Development Tools, and /downloads, and we're going to get this all-in-one package, including Eclipse and the PHP Development Tools. So we'll get to that in a second. I also mentioned that there was a version that was geared towards web development, and that's called Aptana. And Aptana, to some people, may think that this is just a completely different program, actually, but Aptana is actually just another build of Eclipse. It's built off of Eclipse, since Eclipse is open source, but it's built to look more like a web editor and has a lot of tools that a web editor has. So you have the ability, you have the option, if you wanted to, if you're not a big or if you're not really into the PHP end of things and stuff. I mean, If you just want something that's similar to Dreamweaver but you don't want to pay for Dreamweaver, the Aptana Studio is perfect. It's free and it's got a ton of tools. It's very similar to Dreamweaver. However, if you want to have those PHP tools as well, that's not a problem. You can we can download this PHP version, and Aptana actually has the option to simply install the plugin that gives you all the tools that Aptana has, just minus the some of the environment that they've already created, some of the visual things. You basically get everything that Aptana has. And the reason you might think, well, why don't you just get Aptana and then install the PHP tools? I haven't had good luck with that. So far, my best way of doing it has been the downloading the PHP development tools version and then installing the Aptana add-on. So that's what we're going to do, and I actually need to install a new version. And the last thing I will note before we get into this is that Eclipse is actually a standalone piece of software. You don't actually install it. You download it and you put it in whatever directory you want to, and there's already a exe file for you to open, and that's it. So you could actually install this on a flash drive, for instance, and take it with you places. You could load that flash drive on a laptop and boom, there you have your Eclipse software. And if you included your workspaces in there, which your workspaces would be where you work on your website, I mean, you could pretty much take that anywhere you wanted to. So it's kind of a benefit of a kind of standalone portable software. But anyway, so we're going to click on this, and you want to pick your operating system. I assume most of us are using Windows. Go ahead and click the zip file, open it up. Now I use WinRAR. Some of you might use like WinZip or some of the other ones. Okay, so we've got this open here, and if you use WinRAR, then this interface is familiar to you. What you may not know is that you can actually drag and drop this into a Windows Explorer window, and it'll extract straight there rather than having to do the extract to. But either way, if you're using another software or whatever, the point of the matter is that we need to extract this. So where you put it is really up to you. You could put it in your program files if you wanted to. You could put it on your desktop. You could put it on your just local C drive or your main hard drive. It's really up to you. I'm going to create a folder on my C drive. So there I have off of my C drive there's PHP tools. And like I said, you can do this really anywhere you want on your computer. So if you do have the ability to drag and drop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on this and open it up, and I'm going to highlight all the files in here. I could have just dragged and dropped the initial folder, but then I'm going to have two folders, and that to me just bugs me. It's going to be php-tools/ Eclipse-php, which is just kind of redundant to me. So we're just going to drag all the files into here, and that'll take a second. Okay, and we're done. So we'll go ahead and close this. Now this is Eclipse. So now one of the luxuries you don't have, since there isn't an installer, is you don't have a shortcut automatically on the desktop or anything. So, or in your start menu or anything like that. So what you could do is right click and send to desktop, create a shortcut, and there. Sorry, I tossed it on my other screen, but so there's my shortcut. I'm gonna change it to just Eclipse PHP, and we can minimize this. Now when I run this, one of the first things it's going to ask me is basically where I want to work. So we'll go ahead and open this, and you can't see it, sorry, the loading screen is on another screen there. So here's the first screen that comes up. It's asking you for where you want to have your workspace, and if you're coming from Dreamweaver, this term could get a little confusing. A workspace in Dreamweaver or Adobe products is pretty much an arrangement of your work panels or your tool panels and things like that. That's not what a workspace is in Eclipse. A workspace is more like a set of projects where you're going to store all your websites. So it's more kind of like the site definitions or the files panel in Dreamweaver. But and you can either, you know, make all the websites you want in this one workspace, or you can actually get kind of organized and have workspaces for a workspace for each project, or maybe you do work for two different companies. You could have a workspace for that company one and workspace to hold all the websites you did for company two. I don't know. You'll figure out how you want to use it. But I'm going to go ahead, and I have a place set up on my server that I want to go to. You can go ahead and use the default if you want. But what I will warn you against is do not go wherever you have all your websites now. I know this is kind of a bummer because all the websites you might have set up in Dreamweaver, all those folders and everything, this is going to cause an issue. We want to start fresh, so you want to go to a brand new folder wherever, you know, you can put it wherever you want, make a new folder. And I mean, you could really just use the generic, you know, /workspace off of wherever you installed it if you wanted to, but do not install it where all your old projects are, because it's not going to recognize them, even though there's folders in there, you know, like all your websites. It's not going to notice them. So just hang in there with me. So I'm going to skip ahead past here. I'm going to navigate to the place I want to be, but I don't want you guys to necessarily see all the things I have on my... Okay, so I've chosen mine, and I have a folder off of the htdocs, which should be familiar to you if you've installed with XAMPP, you've installed Apache. That should be familiar. So I have a folder called Workspaces, and off of that I have a folder called the Digital Craft. So this is going to be the workspace that I use for digital craft related projects. The website, all the tutorials, things like that. And I'm going to hit OK. If I haven't mentioned yet, I'm fighting off a cold, so please ignore the scratchiness of my voice. You want to go ahead and allow access for PHP, or Eclipse PHP, by the way. So allow access. And this is kind of your starting space here. You're going to want to do a lot of rearranging when you start getting in here. There's a lot of panels, just a ton of stuff that that you're going to want. There's just a lot we can do in here. There's a ton of panels. There's a lot of plugins. We can get really carried away with that. So I'm going to stop this video here, and on the second video we'll go into installing some of the plugins we need to install. And those are, we need to install the Aptana plugin. We need to install some of the SVN, or the subversion, which is version control. We need to install that, and maybe we'll look at some other ones. But so thanks for watching this, and we'll get into some more stuff here in the next video. Hey everybody, welcome back. We're still talking about Eclipse here, and so far we've downloaded Eclipse and we've got it running for the first time. What we need to do is we need to install some plugins, and the first one we want to install is the Aptana plugin. And how we do that is we're going to go to Products, and we're going to go to Download Aptana Studio 3. And we're going to go to Download Aptana Studio 3. And this is really important here. It says the standalone version, which we do not want. We want the Eclipse plugin version. So we check that and we click download. And what's interesting here is that we actually don't actually download it from here. We highlight this URL here and we copy it, because to install a plugin, what we do is we go back into Eclipse, and we go to Help, and we go to Install New Software, and we paste the site name here, and we click Add. We want to name this location. We'll call it Aptana. So OK. And there you go. It shows Aptana Studio 3. We're going to go ahead and check it. You can look at what it's got in there, and it's basically just a plugin. Go ahead and say Next. And just kind of, this is going to review what you're going to install. Hit Next. Accept the license. Hit Finish. And it's going to install it. And you do have the option to run this in the background, so you could actually go ahead and keep working on what you're working on. But we're going to go ahead and just let this run. So to remind everybody, Aptana is the plugin that we're going to, it's going to give us a little bit more of a web environment, and some web tools, things like autocomplete that for web, and some support for you know, just HTML files and CSS and things like that, some better editors. Just some better editors in general. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and I'll resume as soon as this is done. Okay, now it's done. We're going to go ahead and click Restart Now. And that's going to apply the changes and then restart Eclipse. And the splash screen will come up, which again, I'm sorry you can't see, it's on my other screen. But then it's going to ask you the workspace again. If you think you're going to be working in this workspace forever or for a good long time, you might go ahead and use this as the default and don't ask again. You can always turn that off later, and then it won't ask you this. But I'm going to leave mine unchecked. Say OK. And here we go. So now you see things are a little bit different. We still have our welcome page here, but here's the start page for Aptana, which kind of gives you kind of an idea of what's going on with Aptana, their recent releases, and some of the bugs they're working out, and whether they're fixed or not. So that's good. I'm going to make these videos kind of short, so this will be the end of this video. When we come back, we'll go ahead and install the remainder of the plugins that we need to get started. So we'll see you back here soon. Alright, welcome back everybody. Now we're going to, we've already got Aptana plugged in, installed into Eclipse, and now we're going to install what's called Subclipse. This is a version control plugin for the version control software called SVN, or Subversion, which is made by Apache. And what I did is just went ahead and Google searched Eclipse, Sub-Eclipse install, and it got me to the right site here. So you want to click on this subeclipse.tigris.org/install.html, and there's a big mess of stuff on here. Scroll down and you're going to see these install instructions. Keep scrolling down, and we want to find this URL right here. And we're going to go ahead and copy that, and then do what we did before. We're going to go back to Eclipse, go to Help, go to Install New Software, paste the site there, click Add. We'll call this SVN, say OK, and we're going to go ahead and click Subclipse and hit Next, and then it's going to show you all the things we're going to install. We're going to hit Next, agree to the terms, hit Finish, and we're going to install all this. Just want to go ahead and say OK. And just like the last time, we'll go ahead and hit restart. And that's going to restart our Eclipse. And Eclipse is started. Hit OK. This is up to you. If you want, you can have some of your usage sent back to Subclips for their reporting. I always choose not to. However, every time I choose not to, I seem to get the message again, so you can do whatever you want with that. So those are the two plugins we're going to worry about now. Really just the most important at this point for what we're doing. So in the next video we'll kind of take a tour around and we'll talk about kind of how to set up Eclipse to work for what we're going to be doing.